Oh, looks like it's actually on. All right, so it's not on
Cool.
yet. It's not on yet. I have to press a big button to basically turn it actually on.
Cool.
So you ready for me to turn the button on?
Do it.
All right, three, two, one, go. Going live.
Ooh.
One.
Is it live?
And we're live. Yeah, it's a 20
Wow.
second delay between when we actually talk and when the thing actually happens. So, but I got a notification. Like it seems like things are actually happening right now. So
Okay.
yeah, so you're on the internet. Yeah, I have the control panel up and it's up. So yeah,
Let's
we're
do
online.
it. How many people are watching?
Five people.
Sick. Good enough. That was good enough for me.
So it's like what? You, me, your wife, my mom. This is great. This is a great start to.
I promise you, Donnie is not watching us.
I guess so the way this is set up is that we're gonna do like a few calls with a few people. We already mentioned like in the description who's gonna be first one's gonna be KC. I think the thing that's actually worth kind of doing is maybe we should just talk like first of like where we are right now because I feel
Yeah.
like that could be interesting just in itself.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Kirk,
Yeah.
where are you calling from right now?
I am in the Lower East Side in my studio apartment with my wonderful wife, Donnie, who's working there. If you
Oh
notice,
man.
we've retrofitted our dining table. Donnie, say hi.
So Danny.
Right now, it's Randy and five people. So we retrofitted our we retrofitted our dining table to become a desk. I took that monitor from Samsung, but I'm in LES hunkered down. We're stocked up.
Yeah.
So beyond not getting a haircut overall, I have no real complaints. Yeah.
How long have you ever let your hair grow? 'Cause you normally shave your head like pretty regularly.
I get my haircut every 2 weeks, and it's killing me right now. It's killing me. This is the one thing I didn't prepare for. We bought everything except for this. It's killing me. I was like looking up last night. I was like, okay, maybe I can get a clipper, and then Donnie can shave my head. And I was like, no, I can't. I am feeling weirdly appreciative. It's a very small studio apartment, and like sometimes when Donnie and I take calls, one of us might have to go into the bathroom, as we've done a couple times. But I am appreciative of the natural light, and it's just a solid apartment. It's like away from the street. Like, you know, now that I've really spent time in this apartment, and really noticed every detail, and I'm like, you know, not bad. I'm feeling grateful.
That's
So,
rather than the alternative, right? Like spending like
yeah,
days in there and be like, I don't like this place. I don't like this rug.
yeah,
I don't like this view.
yeah. So I'm feeling lucky. We might reorganize the whole apartment tomorrow, but we will see. Where are you, Mr. Andy?
So I'm calling from my parents' house in New Jersey. So I was in Queens, but I decided to escape the city because I was like, I don't. This is like what 2 weeks now ago that I was like,
Yeah,
I want to like not be in there. And it turns out I was not alone in this decision. There are lots of people who I've been talking to on video call since then who make the same call. So clearly I
lots of
was,
people got out of Dodge, got out of the
yeah,
city.
yeah. So you know, not the first person to be like, I don't want to be part of this rodeo.
Yeah.
And so yeah, has it
Speaking of,
been weird? Has it been weird in New York? Like, have you actually noticed like a trend?
it's just empty. It's just creepy. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's the big thing. And I think, if anything, now I'm just more acute to this, like the homeless people that used to be in my neighborhood, that now that
Mm,
they're kind of the only ones left. And that's kind of weird, obviously,
yeah.
right? But I personally don't find it that, like, I don't find it unsafe or scary or anything like that.
Mm,
I just find it really
yeah.
sad
Yeah.
more than anything. And LES, I think, is kind of acute because it's mostly bars. So that was the first thing to get shut down. And I assume like it's a very specific set of people. It's not people who like, there's not a lot of office space in LES, right?
Yeah.
So there aren't a lot of people coming to visit LES because that's kind of where everyone in Manhattan goes to like drink
Yeah.
too, right? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
inner borough travel is less and like outer borough travel is less. So
Yeah.
it's dead. It's super dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the super
but
sad part, right? It's like the
yeah,
whole like deal in New York, the whole trade is that you get a tiny apartment like your studio in exchange
yeah,
for like all this stuff outside, right? And now it's kind of like the
yeah,
bars are suffering, you're stuck in this tiny studio. Kind of crazy,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. I do see that. I've seen more people give the homeless people money and stuff, and I've done it too. Like, I think that's like a kind of weird side effect where people
Yeah.
are kind of more generous, which is kind of
Yeah.
nice. Um, but yeah, I don't feel like, I think when I read the news, like I think the hospitals are getting hit super hard, and Brooklyn and Queens are getting hit super hard. I think obviously it'll happen to Manhattan too, but it doesn't feel like that where I live, so I feel lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it
Yeah.
like in New Jersey? What are people doing? Are people walking around?
So people like go on like walks and like runs and stuff. Actually, one thing I've been going on a lot more runs and things like that just because there's nothing else to do. People have been doing like distant walks or distant runs, which basically turns into
Yeah.
them just like walking in the streets, which is kind of just clearly not safe. Like clearly, like it's like, okay, guys, you got to like figure out what's the bigger risk here.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but the thing that gets really weird is that the grocery stores. So like basically
Yeah.
there's like a normal grocery store and then there's like a farmer's market like nearby each other.
Yeah.
Like the normal grocery store is just like the normal panic buy or now normal panic buying and
Panic
people trying to
buying.
buy as much stuff with like toilet paper and stuff like that as possible, which is like not actually that helpful. And there's a farmer's market which I see like feels the same as like a normal grocery store except it comes from like local farms. And that's been like
Yeah.
basically dead inside. And so honestly I've been going there for food because it's like all fresh stuff that like, you know, like the food supply isn't like affected, right? So it's just like
Yeah.
life.
I think a very similar thing, like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's are like horrible to be in because the people who shop there are horrible. And like Essex Market is like chill. It's like casual. Like people are just like casually browsing the store, like looking at stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is great. So like any local bodega, ethnic supermarket, like that's like the best way to do it. They seem much more prepared for the apocalypse than Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I think it's not the people who work at Whole Foods; it's the people who shop at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of panic buying for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't buy water. Like you definitely can get access to water still.
I think the interesting thing for me is that like the whole so this is like a big suburb. I mean, like you can kind of see just like outside, like it just looks like a normal, just like
look at that,
right?
beautiful.
Yeah.
To have that lack of population density.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's good game here. It's just some fresh air. So if there's nothing else I want right now, it's the air and the sun. The whole ideal suburbia is that it's pretty much like one of like kind of this like just like lo-fi like reality where everything's like calm and safe, and so it's kind of interesting. Everyone's kind of adjusting simultaneously. Like I've noticed a lot of people, my mom included, like they'll drive but like wearing like gloves.
Gloves, yeah,
things like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the mask, not as often. Then there's kind of like this. It's kind of this thing where it's like 2/3 of the people are like wearing the gloves, like kind of worried, and then like a third of the people will be like, "This isn't anything," and like usually the people who are anything, they're like the oldest people, so it's like, okay, this is like not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also assume like the information disseminates a lot slower, like locally in a suburb too, right? Like, but also feel like I don't know, like my parents watch a shit ton of news.
Well, no, so the information goes actually. So another thing I've realized is that TV is the most terrifying thing. I haven't like really watched like full TV in a long time. So like just seeing it like 24/7, just like how that cycle ramps up.
Yeah.
Like this morning, like The View was on TV, like in the kitchen, and I was like, they were like talking about life in the time of quarantine. And like all call each other remote, and like I was like, oh my god, this machine like just once it goes, it just doesn't stop.
Yeah. The news is horrible. That's actually the one thing I talked to my parents about. Of like, that's the one thing I asked them for 2020 is to watch less TV.
Yeah.
I got my mom an iPad, and I downloaded the New York Times app. I'm like, check this once a week. I said she still will do. She's like turns it on like to kill, like it's to kill time too, right? Like. Because they're both retired. My parents are definitely more housebound than your mom, right? So like, but yeah, they're just use it to like it's smoking a cigarette, right? It's like so it's very scary, super scary.
After you told me you did that, I told my mom, I was like, look, we're gonna turn the TV off or the news off rather. The TV I don't care, but like the news, not
like watch a story, like watch a soap opera, watch a movie or anything, documentary, but do not watch the news every day. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Especially too, because do they watch super local news?
It's all like CNN and like the ABC, whatever the standard like channels are. So it's nothing crazy. But even then, like that, like it's like just so interesting how fast the cycle goes because it's not like it's like a drip, but the thing is the drip turns into a stream at some point and just turns into like a full faucet running, and that's where it becomes just crazy because if you have it on for like 8 hours. My mom and her boyfriend both retired, so it's like you have it on for 8 hours and just like the same thing over and over again. At some point, like your subconscious is just like freaking out, like like you can't help it.
Definitely. What does your mom think of this? Like, what is her thoughts?
Like just like
in general, like what does she think is happening, and what is she like? Is she doing stuff, and like does she talk about it with you?
So we went to had to do a bunch of errands yesterday. We went to the bank, the
Yeah.
grocery store, things like that. And as we were
Yeah.
driving out of like the house, of the driveway, she was like, "Feels like we're in a sci-fi movie right now." It's like I've never
I
seen
mean,
anything like this before. Like it feels like a whole like
I
new
mean
situation. And yeah,
that's pretty spot on. It is. It's weird. It's creepy. That's the biggest thing. It's
yeah,
creepy if you're safe, and then if you're unsafe, it's scary. I would
yeah,
say, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um,
I
I
would
don't
say
know.
like a whole vibe though for like just us as a family has always been one. I mean, that's why I try to bring to marriage. It's just generally one of like stay
Yeah,
cheery, but like be paranoid. Like that's generally
yeah,
the MO is like yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. The gloves are a good idea. I bought a bunch of gloves too. Like they weren't like the nice. They're like whatever was left. But I was
yeah,
like, yeah, I think I'll wear that for a little bit. I leave the house.
yeah.
Um,
Um, so I guess like one like I'm curious like what have you we do like different calls to different people. I'm curious
yeah.
what you've seen past like week or two when you talk to different people. I guess like for
Um,
context, like
yeah.
for people who are like watching us don't know, like Kirk and I like do coaching calls on Merit, and we also just like onboard people stuff like that. So, but we don't like do the call simultaneously. So we talk to like lots of different people. Kirk more on
Yeah.
the product and design side, me more on the engineering side. So yeah, I'm curious like generally what's it been like this past couple of weeks when you talk to people.
I think the top of every call is like dedicated toward talking about like where are you? Are you safe? Like where's your
Yeah,
family? Is it weird? Do you have enough growth? So there's like a little that's stuff we did not talk about 3 weeks
yeah,
ago or 4 weeks ago.
yeah.
Everyone's calling in from hilarious locations. I'm seeing a lot more babies and cats and dogs, which is nice. Which is nice. Um, I think like there's a kind of beauty of like not talking about it in kind of a way
Yeah,
because like it's kind of a nice reprieve. Like merit almost as a distraction. It's kind of nice
yeah,
just to be like, oh, how can I work on my portfolio or like how can I improve this particular skill? So that's it's kind of nice to do something that's not related to the global event that's happening. But do you think a lot of people are feeling like a wave of layoffs and reduction of force and reduction of wages? And people entering the job market now, I think, are a little bit more scared, I would say,
yeah,
or
yeah,
worried or anxious or whatever the right word is there. So I think that's definitely like that's like a bigger uptick. I
yeah,
feel like we're getting a lot more people who are looking to leave, looking to transition,
yeah,
looking to get their first job more than we were getting like a couple months ago.
yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing the same
What
thing. It's also
yeah, what about for
yeah.
you?
I would say that like people are definitely like trying to like job transition like much they're like accelerating the plans that they already have for themselves like
Yes,
right
yeah,
now either
yeah,
because they're forced to because of like the company going through something which has
yeah,
actually been for me kind of surprisingly fast like
yeah,
companies are basically like we got to cut everything now which kind of is interesting just from an economic perspective and then there's people who are like I see all this stuff about to happen I'm gonna like just like try to jump ship somewhere like now or like as
yeah,
soon as possible then like wait for this to like go down
yeah,
um, it's kind of like a cascading failure, right? It's kind of like this thing where like people like something actually happens and everyone thinks something's going to happen and people just like start doing it and it becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. So
yeah,
yeah, I don't know what's going to
yeah.
happen. I also don't really know like how that would affect the actual job market. Like I wish I actually had like thoughts on that, but
I think
I,
definitely certain industries are more acute to it, right? Like anything
yeah,
that depends on like office space. Like I don't know what WeWork is doing now, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know.
like yeah, like
Any
taking office
co-working
space,
business.
any
Yeah,
co-working business. I think anything adjacent to hospitality,
yeah,
or alcohol, or like I guess like delivery startups must be doing well. Delivery services must be doing well. I know certain jobs are like hiring. Like Amazon is doing a bunch of temp workers too. Walmart's doing a bunch of temp workers.
I mean, Amazon's hiring 100,000 people, something crazy like that to like go
Yeah,
through this. Zoom is
yeah,
like skyrocketing in terms of
yeah,
usage. Same as Slack. So it's kind of like, I mean, I guess you really got to ask yourself like what exists in a remote first world and what doesn't. And that's kind
yeah,
of like a thing. And I mean, this could go on for a while, like a genuine,
yeah,
like for a while. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I also wonder too, like I'm really curious, are people actually like watching more Netflix or watching more TV, or are they actually watching less? Because I feel like I was watching more before, I feel. It's really like this is like kind of like unbundled parts of capitalism for me too, where I'm like, I definitely do still like working. That's like still definitely a big part of my identity. But I
yeah.
definitely don't like miss buying things. Like this, like I think maybe it's like brought like the doomsday prepper out of me or whatever, where I'm like,
Yeah,
I want to compound now. It's like it's
yeah,
decided. Like that's something that's definitely accelerated like very quickly. I'm like, I don't want to buy things anymore. I'm gonna grow this.
Yeah,
That is
really,
like that's a weird shift for me. Like I didn't see that one coming.
yeah, like I definitely looked at my like my weekly budget. And I was like, I'm not gonna buy these clothes. I'm not gonna buy this thing. Like, what's the point? Like, who's gonna see these? I can wear the same sweater forever.
What's the point? What's the point? I've definitely been like I've been consuming YouTube content, but more on like houses, and then I went through a really bad wormhole of like luxury bunkers. There was a whole thread of like the bunkers in New Zealand that like all the people. I was like, all right, I need to go to that. I was like, this is the I need to go to that for sure. But I was like, all right, so what if
I find Peter Thiel's
I did not.
luxury
No.
bunker?
There's like a Vice documentary about it, but they don't really show it. It's a bad documentary. I do not recommend it. But I think some of the cooler ones are like retrofitted military bunkers from the Cuban Missile Crisis in like the middle of America that have turned into like essentially a residential compound. I'll share that link with you later. But anyways, what I'm saying is my mind is wandering is really what I'm trying to say. My mind is wandering.
Weirdly enough, in like wholesome activities, I learned. So like I basically before all the stuff went down, you weren't able to go anywhere anymore. I basically signed up for a bunch of the museums to like try to go to like more museum stuff.
Yes.
So great investment. But either way, one thing that's been cool is that all of them have been notifying me that they have a crazy amount of like online resources that always existed, but no one knew about them. So like the Whitney, the MoMA, the Met, like all of them, you can basically like watch, like view the actual art online. But even cooler is like see like them actually doing like they record all their talks and so forth. So you can see like the talks about the art and like actual artists talking about how they make their stuff and things like that. So I've been like seeing more of that as my attempt to like try to get my YouTube to like highbrow YouTube instead of just like going too deep.
I think that's great. That's awesome. Is it all free or is it part of the stuff?
It's all free. It's all free. Oh. I actually posted in our Slack, for anyone who's listening who's on our married Slack, like PS1 when they do a concert series, they're gonna do like a virtual concert series, like starting even earlier than normal. So
that's dope.
Stuff like that's pretty cool.
I think I would imagine too, a lot of like digital event design is kind of happening now and also a lot of people who made excuses that they couldn't do stuff digitally are like, no, you can if you wanted to.
Still there. The internet hasn't gone away.